So welcome everybody to the second event at the second counter session event here at A to Z. You're all sitting, you all have your stools, it's great. The counter sessions is a new format that we're doing here at A to Z, a space for experimental graphic design. And the idea of the counter session is it's a place for meeting over a drink and exchanging ideas, where all is happening over the bar counter. So we are planning to host informal talks, discussions, presentations, workshops, and other forms of interactions. And by doing so, we will explore the countless facets of transdisciplinary graphic design, which is really what we are interested in here at A to Z. The new format proposes an even more kind of casual and intimate setting for all of us to kind of get together and meet and exchange ideas, and kind of allow for more interactive participation and for different voices to be heard. Now the bar setting that we have here at A to Z really comes with a history, because it was 22 years ago that Jens, here in the corner, and myself, look, when I have the glass I don't see far, in the very same building, not the same space, it was the space kind of 2 doors down, but in the very same building we were running kind of an improvised illegal bar once a week. We were kind of welcoming friends and locals to kind of join in the bar. It was very makeshift and very improvised, and very much in the kind of spirit of the post-reunification, wild, uncontrolled time here in Berlin. And so it's a reference to this bar that was called Flipper Bar. And here in the back, the curtain that you see is actually an original relic of that time. So 22 years ago, that very curtain was hanging also in the SSA in the same building and kind of marked the Flipper Bar. So for the second counter session that we do around this bar counter, we've invited Florian Dombois, here behind the bar, as you should be, who will present and release his new record, In Verse, a Yearly Ritual. Florian Dombois, born in Berlin in 1966, is really his practice is really truly transdisciplinary, and it's what I really appreciate about his work. He first studied, in fact, geophysics and philosophy, with a particular interest in wind, time, liability, and tectonic activity. And it's these interests that then moved him to a research-based artistic practice that often takes the form of happenings and sound installations. He won the German Sound Art Prize in 2010 and is professor at Zurich University of the Arts since also around that time. And just to kind of give you a little idea of the many projects that Florian is doing, and there are really a lot, and I recommend to check out his website. I just want to mention a project that he did at the Research Pavilion at the Venice Biennial in 2017, where a boat with golden sails was sailing kind of to the abandoned islands in the lagoon of Venice, to collect scrap materials to build a wind tunnel. And I know from before that the wind tunnel is a central element and interest of Florian's work. Or another project is the triple instrument, where a kite is attached to a string instrument that translates the wind into sound. And this, and I forgot to ask you before, isn't this something you're doing here in Berlin?
Yeah.
When? This weekend?
Tomorrow, yeah.
Tomorrow.
But it's not public. But it's public. You come to Ernst Reuterplatz, and Alberto, Kirsten, Ariane, and more people will try to collect sound. The title is Biophony, and it's a crowd of people with any kind of microphones listening to the earth, to the water, to the wind. But it's not public. But you know how to enter Ernst Reuterplatz, so we will be there 3 days rehearsing in May. Is the day set already?
I think the 21st of May, probably.
Yeah.
Very probably.
So May 21st there will be public concert installation there.
Okay. So sound is in fact a main medium that Florian explores, like it also did in the project Struck Modernism. where he literally struck modernist sculptures with mallets and hammers at Haus Konstruktiv in Zurich to audio record their natural vibrations. And I absolutely love the idea to think that you were there with all these kind of iconic sculptures of Solivit and Posenenske and Vasarely, and we're just actually literally exploring them for the sound that they make. The related book, Struck Modernism, was published by the Green Box, the publishing house that I run. And it also includes the audio recording on a vinyl record. And this was, in fact, the first project that also we kind of collaborated on. And the book, if you're interested, is the book that's also standing there on the shelf, so you can have a look. I'm very glad that Florian's new project and limited edition record, In Verse, A Yearly Ritual, is also published by the Green Box, so that's great, and will be released tonight. And I'm very much looking forward what Florian will tell us about it. I will not go, leave that out. As time plays a crucial part in this new project, Florian will offer a very short little DIY workshop at the end. I guess some of you know. Who brought a clock? Did anyone bring a clock there? So there will be a little DIY workshop of where Florian will show how you can actually make time, your clock, go backwards. So very, And of course, you're all invited to stay here at the bar afterwards to mingle, and we'll be running with our traditional bar menu, which is water, Tannzäpfle beer, and one cocktail. And the cocktail tonight is a caipirinha. And thanks so much to Soraya and to Eve, who will be here, who are like the guest bartenders tonight, and preparing the drinks. And there, as always, they're on a suggested donation basis, so just put in here what you want. So if you're interested in the record or in the book, actually, you can approach me after Florian's talk. And there's one little thing that before I hand over, I wanted to ask to do. You see these kind of green stickers here, and you might have noticed the wall. So this is something that we've been doing at A to Z since 2 exhibitions ago, that actually we have a collection of the names of the visitors. So I'd like to invite you to write your name on one of the stickers and just stick it anywhere there on that wall. And that's it from me, and I wish you a super inspiring evening, and I hand over to Florian.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ja, thank you for coming. Es gibt welche, die kein Englisch können. Elise kann kein Englisch, der Willi kann kein Englisch. Aber ich spreche trotzdem Englisch. Ist das okay? Oder vielleicht erzähle ich die Witze auf Deutsch und dann die weniger. Schön seid ihr da. I'm really happy that you're all here. It's really great. Is a moment of a lot of work, and then you release, and then you don't know what to say, usually. So I would like to start with the first part to say, let's call it imagination. So since we are all here, I would like to think of a flow of water. So if you think of a river, that first you look on it, and then you see it going downstream, and then you might enter into it, and then you swim in it, and then you feel how the river is bringing you down, an experience you don't have in Berlin, because actually rivers don't go in Berlin, they stay. But you probably, I'm sure you have been in sites where water has been calling you, bringing you down. And then what I find quite interesting is when you are, it's not only it's easy to swim because it takes you wherever you want, but it's also that the water is not always going straight, right? It's going a little bit to the right, and a little bit to the left, it's going up. And especially if the river is fast, then you have even turbulences from the ground coming up, the water brings you up, it brings you down, etc. And then you can imagine that actually us, we are also a kind of flow. So through us we are actually water, 90% or whatever. And it's also full of turbulences, it's full of streams, fast streams, slow streams, pumping, sucking and pressuring, so low pressure, high pressure. So all of this universe of stream relates to a famous quote, I'm sure most of you have heard about it, is Heraclitus saying, "You never step into a river twice," which means whenever you enter into the stream of water, things have changed, you have changed, the river has changed, etc. There's also a nice quote by Søren Kierkegaard, where he says, if you want to understand time, you have to look backwards. If you want to live, you have to go forward. So actually this time and water is very, very much related. And I would like to start with listening to the first of the records that are released tonight, which are porcelain bells, and I will tell later where they are from, but I would like you to, or us, I would like us, like us to listen to this music from the perspective of accelerating and decelerating time. Good? Questions? two, one could call summertime. So in 1916 was the first time that Germany was the first country to introduce summertime. It was a concept has been discussed for quite a while to kind of change the clocks for an hour to allow for longer evenings and save energy. From the beginning, Benjamin Franklin already had the idea, and others also. But it took a while to kind of really set it up. 1916 is a big special year. It's in the middle of World War I, and it is a time when Germany was having serious troubles, energy crisis, like today, quite actual. And 2016 is a 100 years anniversary. Now, if we talk about summertime and wintertime, and I'm sure you have followed this kind of summer break discussions of when there's nothing else in the news, then people can be quite emotional about that. But interestingly enough, is to discuss summertime, something already has to be done beforehand, because to allow for this idea of changing the clock, you actually need a standardized time. So you need already a time that people agree on. And it's only 150 years ago, for instance, nobody, you would have not, all over Europe, every city would have a different time. So kind of really synchronizing time within the sites was a big issue. And in the beginning, it was very often called railroad time. So the railroads were kind of connecting these cities, and the problem of the schedule and of the people traveling already traveling so fast that they would reach into other time zones, kind of cause serious problems. And then they would kind of bring Saxonia would build up a time zone, and then Prussia and so on. And then slowly it would kind of come on a national level to really have standardized time. But it also means if you have standardized times that all these cities have to agree on a point where 12 o'clock the sun is the highest, let's say in Dresden, but Leipzig is not. They have 12 o'clock, but the sun is not the highest. So you have to kind of accept that somebody else is telling you where the sun is. And then I'm sure you're familiar with the most famous spot in that direction is where Tom grew up, in Greenwich, where they have the Greenwich Mean Time. There was also quite a battle between Paris and London and who wins, etc., etc. But nevertheless, it's quite interesting to see that shortly after that kind of railroad time, soon it started that people developed these time zones to kind of make the globe into 24 kind of equidistant zones, and apparently some countries still don't accept this hourly thing, and they do a quarter hour behind or in front, and then there are China trying to bring all China into one time zone, so one people are half in the night when it's midnight and half in this day, etc. So it's it's a strong and quite a fascinating history of these things you need to establish before you can gamble on these hours of putting the clock forward and backward. And I have to say, I find it quite interesting politically also. For instance, Franco in Spain wanted to have the same time like Hitler. That's why Spain and Germany still are in the same time zone, which already when you're in Paris you realize, like it's sun rises so late, and when you come to Spain it's even later because the reference point for the clock is Kassel and not Madrid. So this kind of thing. But it's not only the time zone that's a political issue. It's also summertime is a political issue. So they started in 1916. Other countries also stepped on that time change, and then Stalin was the first to kind of say at the end of one summer, let's keep it summertime. We are so avant-garde. We are always an hour ahead. So So since then, with a short break in between, Soviet Union is an hour ahead of their own time zone because Stalin established it. And in 2016, Erdogan did the same because he wanted to have the same time like Putin. Yeah. So I mean, like it's a power game. And I find it still no surprise that you find the clocks on the top of churches, even though they don't speak anymore on it. But it's interesting to read this world of setting time references. What else? Yeah, and then there's always confusion about it, right? Where do I have to put it forward and backward? And I think it's the best Eselsbrücke is spring forward, fall back. So, Frühling nach vorne. Yeah, so I would encourage everybody. I mean, I don't want to share too much of it. You can read all this stuff on Wikipedia, books, etc. But I think it's one of the fascinating stories to read into time zones and normativity and how to deal with these clocks. So I would like to take the third part and dedicate it to the question: what do we do with this kind of alarm clock that we have on our wrist that kind of gives us the time? Because more and more we live not after the sun, we actually live after the clock. The clock is telling us something that is actually not true. I mean, like the 12 is on top because it means the sun is on the highest. But like actually, if we are running around with the clock, it's rare that it's really matching, right? So it is in this turbulence. There is nicely enough, there is a glitch in the system, and that's the reason for this project. Is there is this glitch that in March, when we put the clock forward, all public clocks are put like in one row. They put 1 hour ahead, and then you're done, right? It's done at night at 2 o'clock, and then they set it an hour ahead. But the problem is autumn. So in 2 weeks from now on, end of October, all clockmakers say never turn a clock backwards. And that's technical reasons, because all these wheels, they don't like to be put back. They need to be accustomed to go forward. Right? So if you turn them back, you also when you do it very often with your wristwatch, it doesn't like it because it is apparently these millimeter things that all these Zähne, do you say teeth of the teeth of the wheel that you should not. So how do you cope with that? If you are not allowed to turn it backward, you don't want to put it 11 times forward as you would have, so you simply stop it. So every year these clocks in the public are stopped, and you probably know that 99% of all the clocks that you see in public space are triggered by a radio signal from Braunschweig, and that tells, now it's this time. That means at 3 o'clock in the night, all clocks stop. So you can go there, they stop. We can test beyond that. That's why we do it today. It's only 2 weeks away from now. And I think this is such a beautiful thing, right? That the clock stop is all of a sudden it's gone. It's gone, that time, this kind of machine that tells us. And I think they deliberately put it at 3 o'clock in the morning because it's quite tough. Ulrike knows, because we have been joining for several times in these night times. It's really, you're really tired. And then it's this moment you almost fell asleep, and then the clock stops, and then you realize, oh yeah, it's really stopping, but I'm so tired. But it's beautiful in that sense. And this project that kind of gave the reason for this record was that I was invited to do something in Dresden, and people are there very much backward.
actually interested. So I realized that I'm an avant-gardist, even though I don't want to be. I have problems with this kind of backward time. And if you are having something, if you feel not comfortable as an artist, I think it's very interesting actually. So I feel very uncomfortable with backward time, so I thought I should study it more. So I started to really become interested in this kind of how can we, and that's why I started with the water. It's like maybe you have to think of time going backward and forward simultaneously and be more free in this kind of, instead of this constant progress. As we know, modernism has brought not only good things with it. So we organized, I could convince the people in Dresden to open the Zwinger, and in Zwinger there is a reference point for Saxonian time, has been for long, where they have this measurement point, and when there was the clock was precise, there's nearby the Mathematisch-Physikalischer Salon, a big clock collection, and there's also the biggest porcelain collection of Saxonian kings, and they have a carillon that we just heard of porcelain bells, and it's the story is behind it is these bells. They tried already in the 18th century, but when you burn a bell, it changes the pitch. So you cannot burn a kind of, I mean, you can burn single bells, but if you really want to make a piano out of it, a carillon, then you need to have them in proper pitch. And you burn thousands of bells to get one carillon. So that there is one of the spirit, beautiful one, but it's still extremely amusing to listen to it. So it's nearby, but it's not. So what you do is you burn them, and then in 1920, where they were able with diamonds to grind them, and then you can pitch them a little bit up until you match. And then this is what we heard, is 40 bells that kind of are playing. And why are these carillons playing is that's why I started with music. I think personally music is a clock, or a way of dealing with time in a very interesting way. So I was lucky to get finances to invite composers to work with this carillon. Usually they play Vivaldi, Mozart, and all the typical stuff on it, which is very strange. As you have heard, it's like prepared piano, John Cage sounds, really interesting sounds, but they are always used for this kind of classic terror. Nothing newer than 1900 or so. And the idea of this record, to put it, is if you buy it, or if you there's also a download code for the sound. So the idea is all of us we can go to a public clock, and then we kind of give this hour a pace or rhythm. I mean, we all know that when you have a song in your mind, it changes your thing, and that's why also the song doesn't really end it. You might have heard it's not really coming down. And in the record there is a score that I would like to share with you that reads as follows: all clocks in public space stand still, all of them, for 1 hour, once a year, every year. Then, when summertime changes to wintertime at the end of October, that hour at 3 in the night can be art, every year again, every year a crack in reality that is open to you. Stay awake till after midnight, go near a public clock before 3 o'clock, wait for it to stop, ring in the time freed from the clock with one of the enclosed compositions, find your own rhythm, maybe drink a glass of water or clear schnapps. Maybe you celebrate the hour without a name, with a friend, maybe with strangers, maybe alone. And I'm doing it now since 7 years. Last year I was in Amsterdam we can talk during the drinks. Which clock I can suggest from Amsterdam station, really good one. This year I will be in Venice. Tom is with me, and a lot of other people. But it's really the idea that everybody can do it. And I would like to end it with the last recording of these 5. And the story behind it is, so we started in 2016, and then Corona happened, no surprise. 2020 was the last year, and it was actually also by chance the last day that something in public could have happened. And so in this kind of very night, I was lucky to convince Meret, Becker and Christoph to play one of my favorite songs on the record. It's who wants to know more about that song? I think it's very interesting for the English-speaking people who don't understand the lyrics. It says, "If I could wish for something, I don't know what. Should I wish for a good time or a bad time? If I wish, I want to be a little bit happy, but if I'm happy, I'm homesick of my sadness." So it's a beautiful, it's one of those where I always get tears. Coda, such a practice of, like, let's say, bringing collective forces together needs a lot of people. So forgive me to read the acknowledgements, because it's actually a lot of people who have been involved. Saskia Bladt did the first composition, Richard Röbel played it, Alexej Retinsky, Didier Rotella, and Olga Bochikhina were all composing, Christoph and Meret Becker. You've heard. They were kind of, I was meeting them through Isabel Mondri from Munich, Beat Forer from Graz, Frédéric Dorieux from Paris, Vladimir Tanopolsky from Moscow, and Max Rabe from Berlin. Opening the Zwinger in the middle of the night and making it shine is only possible through the help of many people. Special thanks go to Dr. Julia Weber, director of the Porcelain Collection, for energetic support and help with the realization. Martina Messler was the first to give the project a boost at the Staatliche Kunstsammlung Dresden. The help of SKD, especially Stefan Adam, Valerie Ecke, Michael John, Dr. Peter Plasmeier, Wenke Ladewig, were indispensable, as that of Schlösserland Sachsen, especially Christine Schiebold and Solveig Siegert and her night guards. Sincere thanks goes to the company Glocken und Turmuhren in Kölleda for their technical support, especially Christian Garameux Völgi and Christian Beck, as well to Professor Gunther Schwarze for his introduction to the instrument. Of the many people who lived and articulated the project with their enthusiasm, and again has offered the urgent helping hand, at least Ramona Eichler, Daniela Friebel, Isabel Krieg, Katja Leisgau, Ulrike Mohr should be acknowledged here. The latter with her students from Kunsthochschule Weißensee. Wow. Professor Olaf Laustrer, he accompanied everything from the first idea to the publication. The project was and the publication was funded by the City of Dresden and recommendation of the Art Commission of Art and Public Space. And I hope we can enrich this list by at least Anja and now I've lost your name, Jens. I was saying Ernst. Now but I hope you all join in, and I'm happy that you're here. And let's have a drink.
Does anyone have a question before we jump at the bar?
Just a little technical one. So it's the glockenspiel that's hanging on the zwinger, like the bells are hanging outside, and it's played from within.
Yeah, so they have a MIDI controlled engine that kind of allows for hammers to kind of cling, and that's why it plays only in summer, because in winter the porcelain bells might break. And another thing was, the request was we should not play too often, so you had to change the notes, because otherwise the bells are, they're breakable.
They're too fragile.
Yeah, they're fragile.
But you have like a piano, like a keys, like.
Yeah, so Christoph and Richard, they brought their own keyboard, so and then you plug it in, MIDI, international standard, another standard. But they were invisible, so you have to imagine this was the whole Zwinger yard was open.
Were people there? Was
Yeah,
there an audience?
between I would say like between 50 and 100.
Oh, nice. I see.
One was very stormy. You hear it on the recording.
I see.
That was the background on the first recording.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and the people were walking. So I had in-ear microphones, so if you listen through headphones, you actually have my ears.
But there was one other instrument, wasn't there?
Yeah, this was a song. No, that's a singing song,
I see.
Singende Säge. So Meret plays Singende Säge. Yeah, it's really amazing. I adore her, and she's really, I mean, like, it's not so she's really successful. So when I wrote her an email and she said like, what do you want to do? What? No, I've never sang this song. It's a famous song by Holländer, Friedrich Holland, who was on exile, so he had to flee the Nazis in the last one.
Oh, I see.
And it's a very, I think it's one of his most beautiful songs, and Marlene Dietrich sang it. But Meret never.
But it sounds complicated to sing.
Yeah, emotionally, yeah. I don't know note-wise. I'm not a singer, you know, man. No. Is it difficult to sing?
It's very high,
Ah.
so and normally these kind of diseases they sing lower octave, and she did it on the top like a cantor.
Yeah, I think she's doing it really well.
But you brought the song to her.
Yeah, I asked her if she would be willing, and I asked also Christoph to do kind of counter improvisation. So usually as a jazz pianist you play something and then you get away from the melody. So I said, can you do the opposite? You know, you start somewhere and then you find the melody, and the moment you find, and we didn't announce that Meret would sing. So she was in the audience, but she had a microphone because her voice is in the outside is not strong enough to really, I mean, like then you need an opera voice. So she had a microphone and she was in the audience so people wouldn't see her, and then all of a sudden she was singing, and then she was, and we had prepared the singing saw, and then I would hold the microphone.
Who wanted the saw?
Sorry?
Who wanted the saw?
Who wanted it or who played it?
No.
Meret played it, and I agreed.
You wanted to.
No, I didn't ask for the singing song, but I thought it was really beautiful. She brought it.
She wanted it.
Yeah. She plays it quite often. This also, you have to ask her about that story, it's beautiful. How she convinced somebody to train her to sing so on. And the guy said, no, there's nothing for women.
Sounds like a theremin.
Absolutely,
Like
yeah.
what?
It sounds like a themin.
An electronic instrument that goes only by a movement of hands. Yeah, it's a beautiful instrument. And she's really virtuoso.
It's a very special sound.
Yeah, so it's you know the saws where you do with two people, and then you hold it, and then apply the pressure, and then you have a bone. But you have to know. Thanks for coming. See you next time now.
Where Venice, you said?
So this year I will be in Venice at Arsenale, I think.
Oh, nice.
There is a clock that, because Arsenale is the first industry
But it's outside.
industry place. But
It's outside the clock?
yeah, so they have at the entrance the lion from Piraeus and a lot of lights and the clock. And I think Venice anyway with the water and the tide is perfect for this kind of thing.
A question. Just I'm interested by the bigger question of February has 28 days, and how do you correct things, and the calendar correction.
Is it also, go into that. It's an amazing story.
Yeah.
So there have been several attempts to change it, especially together with revolution. So the French tried to kind of have 10 months and do everything in 10. They changed the time of the day, but also the counting of the months, and then they get confused. The Russians did the same. There have been attempts to change from 7 days of a week, which is a Jewish rhythm, to 10 days, 5 days. I mean, all of you have everything. And this fight for calendar is really is amazing. And then you have the story of how do you manage with the 365 days that kind of after 4 years are running out of sync. So the Gregorian calendar and the Julian calendar, there was in 72 or so, they changed from the Julian calendar that had run out of sync. So 21st of March was not anymore equinox. So they had to change it and recalculate it, and they did it in October 1672 or something like that. You have to look, or 1572, I forgot. Yeah, and these 7 days don't exist, so they did it with 7 days. And when you go to Switzerland, which is always behind, as you know, there is a tradition of the Silvesterkläusen on the 13th of January, which I can really highly recommend, where they run around in the morning to welcome New Year, but 13th of January, because in the old calendar that would be
Right.
New Year.
That's a long concert.
Yeah.
we're going to do this once also in the cage church where they
Have you
with
been?
the long piece. No, I haven't. But it would be nice to do again.
So,
And also only recently occurred to me that the names of the months in a way are wrong. You know, the September, October, November, December was 7th month, 8th month, 9th and 10th month at some point before they kind of
slipped in 2 extra months.
before they and apparently it was I think Julius Caesar and that was the July and
I think June and July.
and then still keeping the 7, 8, 9, 10. So I think it's also really
so don't get too much into it. You will never be in time.
You get